Hello everybody and welcome back to the Overwatch League. You're joining us here in the midst of the final few matches that we've got in the last 2 weeks of regular season play. My name is Brendan Hook. I'm joined as always by Joshua Sideshow Wilkinson. I'm going to assume you're on this side of me. I actually don't know if you're on that side or this side. I think you're on this side.
You got it right the first time around.
Yes, got it right, yep. And you're all joining us here for the start of the matches here on a beautiful Saturday morning. Is it Saturday? I lose track of the days pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, time is an illusion, I think, once it gets to the wings.
Flat circle.
Exactly, yeah, whatever shape you want to ascribe to time. But I've been measuring my days, Bren, by how many banging matches we have per day, you know, some kind of weird internal calendar that I've got going in my own head. And the ones coming up today, we've actually got some pretty powerful games. We're towards the end of the regular season, things are starting to build towards playoffs, but you take a look at the standings here, and things still can be in flux a little bit. You know, the Paris Eternal are not locked in there at that number 3 spot. The Mayhem can overtake them. There's some other pieces around the middle of the pack that can move all over the place. And as we know, heading into the playoffs, seeding is really important because it allows you to focus in on that playoff patch, to be able to put your all into new compositions that you might be working towards, be able to know which opponents are coming earlier. It gives you such a boost towards the end of the season.
Getting a flashback, Josh, to the last 2 years when we were running the 4-map sets, and I remember the casters at the time would always have to say, you know guys, the 4th map really does matter, and there's some truth to that because it did matter for seeding, although we couldn't quite see it. But fortunately now we're at the end of the season and you can start to see how the pieces are falling into place. But the match at hand that we have for you is the Atlanta Reign versus the Paris Eternal, and this is one of those matches, Josh, that you can, you know, knock down on your calendar that you apparently use to describe time, because it should be a banger of a match.
It should be pretty good, yeah. This is one of our first Atlantic rivalries that we had alongside Paris playing against Philadelphia. But we haven't really seen either of these teams play against each other in quite a while. And Atlanta have been getting over the loss of Baby Bay pretty well. They've been developing. Edison and Erster have managed to find some success together, and the team has looked all right. But they haven't been able to perform against the top teams in the league. Now, you look at the other side of that, and Paris actually has been struggling themselves a little bit to get into things recently. Coming off that fantastic performance in the Summer Showdown, they didn't really manage to put together the same kind of performance in our Countdown Cup. So I feel like this is a little more up in the air than people might have expected, you know, with our previous notions of there being a dominant top 3 in North America.
Yeah, most definitely. And Atlanta Reign are going to be rolling out with some familiar faces. It's nothing out of the ordinary for this time, actually. I mean, you got Luris.
Iris, Bren.
Iris? I mean, that is an L.
I know that's an L. I know it is, Bren. But it's, I think, supposed to say like the word iris, but pronounced iris.
Peanut-sized brain just cannot comprehend how these players and gamers are writing their names these days, Josh.
I know. They are truly working in extra dimensions when it comes to naming themselves. But yeah, this is a new addition for the Atlanta Reign. And he's only played a couple of maps so far for Atlanta. He's kind of been subbed in and out. And I'm interested to see how they integrate him towards the end of the season. Obviously, it's going to be Erster and Edison taking the brunt of the work here on DPS. And Edison is somebody that the pre-show at Watchpoint talked about quite a lot. And Erster in particular, his kind of ways of maneuvering around the hero pool at the moment with Genji and Tracer out and him only playing Mei will be interesting in this match.
Yes, they will. And of course, on the other side of things, we have the Paris Eternal. The Paris Eternal recently went up against the Philadelphia Fusion. That was in the Summer Showdown semi-finals. I mean, they lost to the Philadelphia Fusion in a 3-1 fashion. So not ideal, obviously, for Paris. I probably were hoping that they would have a better chance of things, or a better shot, a better option. But an opportunity now to kind of like, assess what's gone wrong for them. Maybe start to think about what they're going to be doing, because of course the hero pool rotations means that we don't have Genji being able to be played, and of course that is one of Sparkle's signature heroes. It's one of the things that he's had the most success on an individual basis, and of course he can play other heroes, other roles, but it has been the main sort of weapon open for them coming into these matches, I say, as Sparkle gets slept.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't actually have that much success running it during the Countdown Cup. I think some of the issues with their main tank flexibility hurt them. It's going to be Ben Best who's starting out here for our first map, along with Sparkle and Exi. So even though the Genji is unavailable for this week, Sparkle's still going to be in our starting lineup here as we head towards, it's a bit of a spoiler alert here, it's Oasis. And when you look at Sparkle's heroes that he's played so far this season, you'll see that Genji by far and away dominates the playtime. I mean, look at that, 70.4%. And they have tried him on other stuff as well. We've seen him on the Mei and on the Doomfist and on a smattering of other heroes too. But it's really been the Genji that they have relied on. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get too much value out of Doomfist with Zarya also being out of the rotation, but it's always possible. Something we have seen from the Dallas Fuel was some Pharah being used on Oasis, with Doha picking up that role, which looked all right, but I'm not convinced by it. I'm just interested to see, Bren, whether we see this creativity that we have previously seen from the Paris Eternal when it comes to their control maps. The control maps were previously the maps where they were most happy to sub in Soon, sub in Nico, play a variety of different compositions, and really tailor it to their opponent and one specific comp. Because obviously when you're playing control, you don't have to think about the broader entire map. You can just play one comp for one round.
I'll give you guys a bit of behind-the-scenes action as well. I mean, I don't want to brush over your point entirely, Josh, because it was pretty good one, actually.
Sweep it. Just brush it.
I don't want to brush it. No. We can touch on it, actually. We've got a bit of time. But the reason I wanted to give the people behind the scenes a little bit of a sneak peek at the behind the scenes, you know, Atlanta Rain had some technical difficulties, may have involved electricity going towards their building. So we're actually just waiting for them. They've got it back, though. So we will be getting into the action fairly soon. But at least for now, you get a little mini duo podcast, I suppose. Is it called a duo podcast? If you've got, I mean, it's just a podcast, isn't it? You can have podcasts with two people.
Yes, I think so. You can have a podcast with two people. That is what a lot of different podcasts around the world are. You don't need any special name for it.
It's just called podcast.
Yeah, I think they are.
Duo podcast.
I'm really interested to see this matchup, though, between Erster and Sparkle. If I was to dive in on any head-to-head, I mean, there's many that you could talk about here, like Gator and Hanbin, both coming from contenders and being highly rated off tanks. But the one that I'm most interested in is Sparkle versus Erster, because Sparkle's a player that has performed incredibly well this season. He's performed up to people's expectations, and perhaps in some circumstances even surpassed them, even though the hype coming in for him this season was phenomenal, almost unattainable levels of hype. You can see that the Atlanta Rain players are situated there. Gator seems to have shrunk a few inches as well compared to where his camera placement was supposed to be, but it's all good. It's all good. We'll monitor the top of Gator's head very closely. But yeah, this Erster Sparkle gameplay, I'm just interested to see what heroes they come out with.
Yes, that's the big question, isn't it, on everybody's mind, is because, as we saw previously, 70% play rate, roughly speaking, and that was what they were working with in terms of their heroes and what Sparkle was playing, one of his key roles, and now unable to be played with the hero pool rotations that we have. And of course, as well, you mentioned it briefly, Josh, but Zarya being out of the hero pool rotation as well means that we're probably not going to be seeing too much Doomfist, because Doomfist really likes to have that Zarya bubble when he's going flying in with a seismic slam, just to really negate a lot of that damage and be able to get off that combo and maybe get off that combo kill onto some of the squishier targets. But we are going to be heading into the game. As you can see, the players are raring and ready to go.
Yeah, and I believe you're having a couple of crackly issues with your microphone, Brent, so we're going to try and get that sorted while I take the first fight here as well, because Sparkle and Erster are going to be on the Junkrat, and that's the kind of stuff that we've been seeing quite a lot on these control maps from these teams and a couple of others too. So, as Erster and Sparkle take... Oh, it's Sparkle immediately killed, actually. Going aggressive to try and get some space there for the rest of the team, and Sparkle just gets taken out immediately. The whole of Atlanta Rain is pushing down this right-hand side.
Alright, you can slow down a bit there, Buckaroo. Okay, I'm back. I've reloaded the programs that needed to be reloaded, and we're in the game. The Atlanta Rain have early control thus far. And you can see that they're going to get that early capture as well of the point. And so far, the Paris Eternal looking like they want to rotate up onto the high ground here. You can see the Hulk pulled them together there, comboed into the Accretion. The Atlanta Rain, Erster over on the Junkrat, so he's searching for a tire or two, but it will be Edison who is the first casualty. Rolling forward, Hanbin with the Accretion again, and the Paris Eternal have found their footing. A couple of kills going away. Hanbin rolling through the choke point with Exi backing him up. Man, definitely backing, and that's going to be a quick flip over now for the Paris Eternal.
Paris have managed to regain their position pretty easily here and come back in. Sparkle's also at 90% of his tire, so that's going to be huge. I also like the way that XE is playing here on the McCree. It's something that we saw yesterday from actually the Vancouver Titans, weirdly, who you wouldn't expect to be the meta initiators, but Paris have managed to stomp this one down as well. The Amp Matrix coming out from Fielder was perfect to be able to shut people down, and they didn't even have to invest any ultimates into that one either. Paris, after a little bit of a rough beginning where they lost Sparkle and some early positioning in that first team fight, are now looking in a position where they could end up being fairly dominant. There's obviously going to be a big team fight coming up where full ults are up across the board, but other than that, Paris should be able to just rotate these ults and stay in control for quite a while.
See the teleport going to be used to just avoid them for the time being. The tire comes through, but Sparkle's tire doesn't really get what he was looking for, taken down pretty easily. Deadeye comes out as well, as ults are going to get traded across the board. It's an even fight. Supercharger from Paris might make the difference though, Josh.
Hanbin actually finding a Gravitic Flux kill on Edison while Hawk takes his own life. That's an unfortunate metaphor for how both of these off-tanks have been performing so far in this season. Hawk just not quite able to get the work done that he wants, while Hanbin's at the top of the leaderboard in all sorts of different Sigma stats as dominant. But now Atlanta Reign do actually have a huge ult advantage. They can use the Amp Matrix to try and engage a little bit, and then double tank ultimates to really try and turn this fight around. Paris have nothing, so an individual play or a flank from XE is probably going to come out here. Edison falling so early, that's not what they need at all.
Gravitic Flux committed. Hawk is trying to get some value out of it. Accretion from the flank. It's going to be splitting up the enemy team here. Atlanta might be in trouble. It's already 97% and counting. They got to try and turn this around. Erster, Junkrat in close quarters is getting so much work done. The point in contention. Paris don't want to give it up just yet.
Yeah, Paris are just having to give over control of the point there at 99%. But Sparkle's managed to find a kill, will get taken out towards the back, and FD God, he's been a fantastic rookie Lucio this year, but even, sure, he's escaped actually, he's managed to wiggle his way out. This guy's wall riding is outrageous. I remember talking to some of the other professional Lucio players in the league who told me they reviewed FD God's VODs in order to just see how he would wall ride. I mean, that's absurd. Oh, and XE, oh, the double kill!
Oh my goodness, Massa.
Massa heard me talking too much about FD God and then just booted you off the map. I mean, that was too simple.
Yeah, it really was. And the good thing for the Atlanta Reign is that they've got a couple of ults to work with it as well. I mean, that tire is going to be coming in handy. Sparkle has one of his own though, so it's not with it, it's without its counter, but it's good news for the Atlanta Reign. At least they have an opportunity now to hold on to this point. 71% and counting. Sparkle going for a flank underneath. Paris now trying to touch the point. They want to try and contest. This tire is going to be traded out here. Josh! And Sparkle gets the money.
XE as well, in the meantime, has found 2 picks. So even though Sparkle got 1 and now gets a second in this team fight, XE's racking up the kills. 4 to his name over the course of the fight. And that's the power, the 1-2 punch of this DPS line from the Paris Eternal. They came in from Element Mystic, and they have just been nasty good in the Overwatch League this year.
Yeah. And they certainly have. It seems like the Paris Eternal, we were wondering what Sparkle and XE were going to be playing. Well, I suppose the university section of Oasis, you know, it lends itself to those Junkrat compositions.
Yeah,
very narrow corridors.
You're not expecting them to run Junkrat here, though, once we get over to Oasis Garden. If Sparkle still pulls it out here, I mean, would be amazed. Yeah, you would be... Really? Are we really going to see Junkrat again on this stage? It feels like it's far too wide open, but it seems like that's what we're going for. This is amazing to me, honestly, because even though you'll get that fight over the top
as well.
high ground, yeah, they're both doing it. So this must be a banner in scrims that has just continued to develop from running the the Junkrat.
Oh,
we were seeing Junkrat Symmetra being played a lot on certain control maps, not on this stage, and now we're seeing Junkrat McCree being mirrored across the board.
Mate, someone call up Jake, get him out of retirement. Has anyone told him that this is happening, that this is occurring?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that.
Contract.
I find it hard to believe that this doesn't get countered by one of the dive comps that you might try and run with the Echo, but this is a nice flank from Edison. If you can just hit the shots.
Yeah, Edison finding some shots, trying to get the kills here, but it seems like the Paris Eternal are the ones who have gained early control of the point. When you get positioning like this, it can be difficult to just dethrone them, and XE rolling forwards with that Peacekeeper. Getting a lot of work done.
Okay, here's my question though. How does the Junkrat find value once you're in control of the point? Obviously, you can lock down the small choke point where Sparkle's currently looking, but that's not normally where teams come from. Normally, the teams come from those two enormous archways at the very front of the control point. So, how does Sparkle manage to put down enough value to justify the Junkrat pick here? This is interesting stuff. Seeing Sparkle actually jump all the way up onto the high ground. He's just going to be raining damage from above.
Yeah, trying to deny it. A lot of work being put in again by the Paris Eternal.
Look at Binbest just in the back lines here. The flanking Orisa to set this whole play up as well. It's so strange, genuinely strange and unusual, but quite a nice idea. I mean, Paris obviously understood that Atlanta were coming towards the archways, so they wanted to wrap Benbest around the back, provide some poke from that direction, be able to take down the Immortality Field and provide halts. It's interesting. I love it. Okay, XC on the higher ground and Sparkle with the tire.
Tire comes through from Sparkle, and he gets 3 kills with it. Okay, a little bit absurd, and Paris Eternal have not given up a single percentage point thus far, looking firmly in control of their destinies and also the outcome of this first map.
That tire is fantastic. This Oasis Gardens is amazing for using tires because there are so many walls. It's impossible for anybody to shoot the tire as it comes towards them there. They barely saw it for a couple of milliseconds before it blew up 3 of them. Real nice timing coming out from Sparkle and Paris. That was the only ult that they had to use to hold on.
See the supercharger with the gravitic flux. Comes through. Ursta's tire does kill Sparkle, takes him out of the fight. Sound barrier just in time from Massa to try and save his team, but it's met with one on the other side of things as well. XC utilizing that Deadeye, and he does get the pick off that he was looking for. Ursta falling, flashbang just out of range, over the time burning, but no one can touch. Spoke too soon. Hawk just about gets his little toes onto the point, but not enough. Paris Eternal, the overtime will eventually go down to a crisp. That'll be map number 1 going their way.
Pretty dominant showing from Paris Eternal to start us out here. The Atlanta Reign looked like they had a decent understanding of what Paris were going to be playing, and there was mirror compositions throughout it all. But I would say the difference maker, to be honest, not just Paris Eternal's DPS line, but broadly speaking, Paris Eternal's DPS line outperformed their counterparts to a fairly large degree. We talk about Ursa on the Junkrat a lot, but Sparkle looked phenomenal there, being able to output more damage on everything other than the very, very initial fight. And XE, this McCree, throughout the entirety of the year, from the beginning to the Countdown Cup when he was the only person, the Summer Showdown, when he was the only person playing it, when everyone else was on the Widowmaker and the Ashe, to now, he's just looked stellar on it the whole of 2020. It's a delight to watch.
Yeah, XE was early on in the runnings, I suppose, for a real star player just off the back of his McCree performance. He might still be the best McCree in the league.
He's leading the MVP votes.
He's leading the MVP votes, XE?
I mean, he was. I don't have the updated numbers, but he was a couple of days ago.
That is crazy. Well, I believe, I mean, unless my mic problems, unless my technical problems, don't know what could have gone wrong here, Josh, you know, it's out of my control, but unless it gets solved, probably going to be subbing out for this one, but we are going to go to a quick break. We'll see you guys soon. Don't go anywhere. The rest of the series will be continuing.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Xe in 3 words, the X Factor.
Xe still in the fight.
That guy is absolutely insane on the McCree.
전 세계적인 선수들이 모인 자리에서 제가 MVP 후보에라도 올라갔다는 거에 정말 기쁘고 또 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
If you put Xe in a game, you know exactly what to expect from him, and he delivers.
Xe back over to the top, taking down Astro. Takes down the Heaven.
What I like about Xe overall is that he's got this gear that he switches into of, it's my time, here we go.
Tried to chase him down. That is filthy stuff. I mean, the double thing, make it 3.
He's not ever scared to take those aggressive angles, put himself in those close-range situations where it is do or die.
Xe is just ripping people apart.
제가 리그에서 보여준 모습이 크게 없다고 생각하기 때문에 더 열심히 해서 그래도 파이널에서 우승까지 하고 그 경기에서 MVP까지 먹는 그런 모습을 보여드리겠습니다.
Will Xe walk away with the T-Mobile $100,000 MVP prize? Cast your vote today.
T-Mobile wants you to choose the MVP. Vote now at overwatchleague.com/MVP or on Twitter using the hashtag OwlMVP and add the player's battle tag.
And welcome back, everyone, where we had to eject Brent for a moment because it was time for me to complete the Infinity Gauntlet. That's right, Sideshow. I finally collected you. I told you wouldn't get away.
I did desperately want to get away. Not that I don't enjoy your casting and want to cast with you, but there was something special about being the only color caster that hadn't casted with ZP. And now, I'm not going to say alas, but alas, we are here in this situation. I'm going to kind of give you a quick run through for anybody in the audience who's just tuning in now, and also for ZP who's just tuning in as well. But we've just seen the Paris Eternal playing over on Oasis against the Atlanta Reign, running some kind of mirrored compositions with Junkrat McCree when it came to University, and then also moving on to Gardens as well. And I saw a stat from one of our stats wizards in the back as well, Matt Marcel, who said Xe went 18-2 on Oasis there, and the entirety of the Atlanta Reign only put up 18 kills overall. So that's an outrageous performance from the Paris Eternals DPS line, and they kind of cruised to a victory, even though Atlanta looked like they had a pretty decent idea of what they were doing and what they wanted to do.
So a big part of why I missed them was Xe being Xe in one of the strongest ways possible. All right, I'm a little bit sad that I went and was speed running makeup. I should have just come on here on natural. It would have been a little bit better. Then I would have seen the game.
Yeah. We've also got some subs as well here. We've got No Smite coming in for Ben Best, which implies to me that they're going for some kind of Winston composition as well. And over for the Atlanta Reign, they've got Saucy coming in for Erster too. So far, I believe we've only seen Saucy play the Genji, but I think he may have played one other hero as well last week. Can't quite remember there. And we've got Soon in for Sparkle as well, over on the Paris Eternal too. So a double hit scan kind of look over with the Paris Eternal alongside that Winston.
It's interesting that Saucy coming to the Overwatch League has been in on the Genji, where you think about Saucy's history over the course of his contenders' play. I mean, Saucy was someone known to play hit scan, so kind of an interesting setup, kind of similar to Tayo, where Tayo played a lot of hit scan, comes into the Overwatch League, and suddenly it goes, can you play Genji? And I mean, to a degree, the players have been adapting.
Yeah, they have. I think they've done a pretty good job of it as well. And Atlanta, I still feel like this is a team that has just to hit their stride. They haven't figured it out all season long, but it seems like this is a team that has potential. And I know that Baby Bay had that interview a month or two back where he said they just need to click at some point, and they don't feel like they've clicked. Well, the integration of these new pieces, of Iris, of Saucy, I think is a bit of an attempt to make the pieces click as well. So far, though, it hasn't happened in this series. We'll see whether it can when we head over into Numbani, which is where we're going next.
You know, when I think about Atlanta historically, I think about a team that, if there's any team that's defined by the idea of momentum, right? A team that really feeds off their own energy and feels good about the players are doing, it's Atlanta, right? A lot of these players, they came up from the Atlanta Academy squad, and I mean, this was a squad that when they were at their best, they showed no respect to their opponents and simply rolled through when we're having fun. And, you know, I think the problem for Atlanta this year is that they haven't hit that groove yet, and, you know, it's kind of landed them almost exact middle of the standings as far as the league goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're desperately trying to get out of that situation. There isn't that much longer to do it. I mean, the playoffs would be the perfect opportunity, though, right? CP, if they come into the playoffs having never beaten a real top-level team all season long, but it doesn't matter. If you manage to do it in the playoffs, then you've achieved your goal. You've accomplished that task. Yeah. And that's what it matters. He who laughs last laughs the longest, the hardest, the funniest. I can't remember exactly what the phrase is, but they're going to be laughing if they manage to get the wins in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important part, is that someone's laughing at the end. At some point, I might have been able to find it, but you went through so many variations that now I'm confused as to what it was.
Sure.
But we're heading into it, and it's going to be soon starting out here on the Sombra.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this, actually, especially because Xy's over on the Ashe, too. Something that he doesn't often stick to. We often see him move away onto some other hero after he's played a little bit of it. It seems like Paris Eternal are looking for some kind of hack dive, but this comp doesn't have the greatest ult cycling either, so it's going to be a lot of pressure here on Soon and Nosmite to open this one up.
Well, also for Soon, just to build the EMP, right, as a fallback. The Rain right now, being consistent, the Eternal getting pushed back to a degree, and I mean, if you're the Rain right now, you make the team with the Sombra make the first move, or you just blow up the Sombra. Also a good start.
Yeah, that was a really nice play by them. Punish the Sombra, punish Soon. At the end of the day, though, I think here this comp is going to function a little bit like the Winston Zarya comps we saw a couple of weeks back, where it all comes down to this nano boost. I think if Fielder can nano Nosmite, that'll buy them the high ground. And from there, Xy should have a bit of a shooting gallery to take off angles or take the high ground and farm. That's my theory anyway. We'll see how he decides to use it.
Oh, Nosmite just immediately gets gibbed. I don't even think Fielder had line of sight on that, the way that broke down. So Nosmite was sitting there waiting for the nano, Josh, and it just never came.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. The pick on Saucy's nice, but I don't think it's going to do anything for them. Maybe it'll stop them having such a dominant high ground defense, but Hanvin's gonna... Oh, the nano as well. I think it got lost. No, it went on to FD. God, we've got a nano mercy out here.
That's not what you're looking for. Oh, FD God goes down, and you know, it just happens sometimes with nano, Josh, where you think you're putting on the target you want, and instead of support just comes in and snipes it.
I mean, I don't think the nano was supposed to go on Hanbin there either. I think that was a desperation play from Fielder, some adaptation on the fly. I thought we were going to see for one moment there the replay of the failed nano boost, but instead we get to see Edison just farming them all.
I mean, I would have been okay with the nano replay just to really rub it in at the end, but things are getting tough here for the Eternal. 1:30 left to go. Nosmite frozen already. Xy down. Now the Resurrection's coming in. Nosmite on the way back over. Primal, though, just about faded. And now Soon, EMP drops mid-fight. And the beat, though, so well-timed coming in from Masa. And Atlanta, they're going to sustain here, Josh.
Yeah, this is a catastrophe from the Eternal. It's a composition that is only going to work once you have ultimates online. Specifically the Nano, the Primal, the EMP. Those are the important ones to both make space and then have some kind of finishing power in the team fight. And they've used all of those, and they've done nothing with it, ZP. They're actually just stuffed here. There's 1 minute left.
Do you swap the Sombra now? You're very unlikely to get an EMP at this point.
They're just desperately hoping for a hack. A hack onto Hawk and a nano onto Nosmite, and it's technically still doable, but it's so unlikely.
We're gonna have the Bob out first, and Bob immediately gets destroyed on point. Not much gain from the Eternal off that. And the Eternal, 37 seconds left remaining, could be up on their final attempt here on the point. And now they go for it. Fielder. Yeah, Nosmite got the nano to start it off. Into the back. Edison's down. The Eternal starting off 6v5. Nosmite still pretty healthy in the back, but now isolated down the Rain. Looking to rally. They still have Supercharger. They still have Flux in reserve. And now the Rain. They're going to drop the Supercharger. Gator under a whole lot of pressure and Biode, but going to start getting healed back up. Xy gets caught by Saucy, and the Rain trying to hold on here. Xy, though, rezzed once more. Promise for the Eternal, they have to get to the point.
Only a couple of seconds left here, and Paris are losing players losing health, but they're managing to find the picks. Saucy and Iris go down, and somehow Paris are turning this. It almost feels unfair for Atlanta. They did everything correctly, and Paris still clutch it out.
I hate
genuinely,
to see it.
I couldn't tell you what the turning point was there. I think Exy just hit a really nice shot onto Saucy and finished him off with the dynamite, and things just crumbled after that. They couldn't push Exy off the high ground, but it looked so good for them just before that.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta was in a great spot. I thought that was just about over, and oh boy, here it comes, staggering on the way. No Smite, primaling the back, and they're just trying to keep Atlanta off center here, Josh. Put them in a tough spot and get as much of point B for free.
This is nice aggression coming out from Paris. I love to see it. Atlanta, though, is still going to have their ults to be able to defend at some point during the streets. The Blizzard is normally much better when it comes to defending point A against more mobile comps like this. It's possible, though, that you're still going to be able to get value if you can get, you know, a freeze onto Hanbin and then use the Blizzard to make sure that you absolutely secure the D-Max, something like that. We'll see whether they use the Nano and EMP here. There aren't very good targets, though. This composition doesn't make too much sense for me, unless Exy hits a lot of shots. That EMP is nice,
hits 4. The beat, though, pretty big from Masa. In response, they blow up No Smite again. Public enemy number 1, but the problem is Exy. Still around, still a threat, gonna drop the bomb. Edison already out of the fight. And I have to wonder, what's Exy looking at here? Still very winnable for the Eternal, but they lose Hanbin, their front line. Not looking super great at the moment. And the Rain taking more initiative here, starting to push the Eternal back. And I think the Eternal might have to reset.
Yeah, the Eternal backing off. I was just taking a look at Exy there, getting damage boosted towards the back by FD God. He's the real key player in this composition, because even though other people are going to have EMP and No Smite's got to make all the space and he's going to be given the nanos and he's going to get the primals, at the end of the day, this composition doesn't have any killing power unless Exy hits a large amount of his shots while he's damage boosted. So
feels unfair,
he's your real
though.
power player.
Normally you go, oh, that's not a great setup, but with Exy, he's so good that you can still make it work. However, No Smite gets erased super early in the fight, but once more, space made for Exy, already 2 down. Exy, working off the flank, has 3 before finally following the Hawk. But the Eternal still alive in this fight, soon picking up where Exy left off. And the Eternal are keeping up the pressure now, Josh.
Yeah, they're going to be able to roll this one forwards. It's only Saucy left around on the point. Masa going to desperately stall, but I don't think these players are going to come in quick enough. Saucy does not want to invest his Blizzard on the point either, and it's going to be Paris Eternal taking point B. This composition is really just pocketing Exy. It's making space for him and allowing him to hit the shots.
It's not just pocketing him. No Smite sitting here and being the sacrifice every time where No Smite goes in.
Yeah.
All of Atlanta focuses on No Smite, but they're not looking at Exy, and Exy just goes, oh, you have a lot of room. I'll just dink everyone.
This should be a very difficult comp to execute against the Sigma, because Hawk can just sit on Exy and put a shield in his face most of the time. Nice pick by Soon on 15 health to manage to take that and get out.
I love this. No Smite getting some vengeance. It's a fight a little bit more broken down. There's not enough burst to immediately take him down. And the Eternal just keep the momentum going here, Josh. And they've gone through a very difficult part of Numbani to boot.
Exy is hitting everything, man. He's got this damage boost on him, and he is just taking names. No Smite makes the space, and Exy hits the shots. Soon with another EMP here as well, so the tanks can't even play that aggressive.
Deadeye in the back, a little bit of shield break. The Eternal looking for the finish here. No Smite about to go down first again. Exy, does he have the follow through? Soon's gonna drop the EMP, and oh, doesn't quite happen this time. The Rain collapse onto the Eternal.
20 seconds left, and Paris, they've given it their best shot, but I think this is where the payload is gonna finish. If they can desperately manage to touch with No Smite and Exy moving on to stall heroes, then fair enough. But Atlanta have got a load of ults to be able to deal with this. Looks like it's going to be a shutout, but a very valiant attempt here from the Paris Eternal. Worked a lot better than expected considering how point A went.
I mean, I wasn't really expecting to get back to point. Soon already down, the Hammond frozen on point. The Eternal hoping for a miracle, and does the miracle come with Exy on the legs? I mean, probably not, but still respect the attempt. Overtime ticking down, and they are going to get stopped short of point C.
Like I said, though, really, really good push from Paris Eternal, considering that they were nearly full held on point A.
Yeah.
Paris managed to just put a pocket on Exy, and he hit so many shots.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of one of those things where I almost think strategically, you don't go into the match planning this going, no smite, go in, die, XC, destroy everyone. It worked out that way for the Eternal. They got a lot of momentum, but you're absolutely right when you talk about point A, in that the Eternal, they were stuck fighting from behind essentially the entire time because of how poor their point A attack went. And Numbani is just one of those maps, Josh, where you can really get stuck in a time bank hole.
Yeah, that's true. I also want to point out something I said at the beginning of this map where XE started on the Ashe, and I said, this is a hero he doesn't often stay on. He normally swaps to the Widow or the McCree because he's more comfortable on it. And we saw him once he got to the Streets phase of Numbani, where you can get much more value out of the McCree because you don't have to be worried about playing on the low ground too much. His McCree was hitting way more than his Ashe was. I think on Ashe, he basically only got that final pick onto Saucy. Maybe one other kill when they were trying to attack point A, even though he was playing the Ashe to take the high ground, the shots just weren't quite there. Whereas in the Streets phase, when he's able to play that McCree, he was dominant. So again, playing the Ashe on defense here, on the high ground. We'll see whether he's able to hit them.
I think when you play the McCree on offense, so you can be a little bit more devil-may-care, right? You have the flashbang to protect you if anyone dives on you, so you're kind of more willing to take some of the more aggressive spots where Ashe, I mean, sometimes you got to think twice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely more of a long-range hero, more about controlling high ground as well, which is obviously why he's running it on point A attack. Nice! Hulk Rock set up there, but even though XE gets stunned, he's not going to go down. And this Bastion is just a ridiculous idea, but so difficult for Paris to deal with.
I mean, right now, Nosmite wondering, please, please, not again. Hanbin gonna be the first to get demeched here, but the Eternal, they're struggling to deal with this Bastion, controlling the high ground, and now Atlanta's gonna start getting some serious point progresses. They use the teleporter, change around the Bastion angle, and make things even more difficult for the Eternal.
Atlanta have run Bastion compositions earlier on in the season quite a bit. It's one of their pocket strategies that they occasionally like to pull out. And you can see that Paris tried a couple of things there. They pushed both of their tanks in and tried to get a Bionade through, but Fielder only caught it onto Hawk instead of Edison. Soon hacked Edison, but it still wasn't enough because the rest of his team weren't able to capitalize. And eventually, with Hanbin getting demeched and Soon going down, it's just too little, too late.
Now, my question here is that you're looking at the Eternals lineup. Do they have to swap anything up to deal with this Bastion, or is this a compositional setup where they should be able to turn around in point B?
I mean, they'll be fine as soon as the EMP comes online if they can get the damage output there as well, but they don't have the greatest answers to it, honestly. Even though they can dive from the high ground and make the short sightlines. That's really important when you play against a Bastion, right? You want short sightlines so that you're not taking enormous amounts of poke damage as you approach. And Numbani point B is set up like that, but my question is just kind of who is doing the damage here? Because it's got to be Soon, but XE is not going to be able to really push in with them. Oh, and FD got us the first casualty after already popping Valve. That's a tragedy.
The tank's on the way. Already chunking Nosmite on one side, going down middle on the other. The Rain feeling that confidence and swagger we were kind of talking about in the intro, and you know, it's kind of nice to see this, Josh. Brings me back to when Atlanta was doing well in the Overwatch League.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, can there be any more disrespect kind of strategy than a Bastion on the payload?
No!
Just the pirate ship. Let's go with it. Let's go. They are going to struggle in point C here, I think, because there's so many ways to flank your opponents. And XE's now gone over to the Hanzo, which does provide them a lot of shield break, but it doesn't synergize very well with the rest of their composition at all. I think the EMP from Soon is the difference maker here, or at least it should be. And there it goes.
It's a pretty big EMP, strikes 5, but the fall through still questionable. Atlanta hanging on, they punish Hanbin, and Bastion still hanging in there. Edison doesn't get forced down, and I mean, this is real trouble for the Eternal. They don't have much more left to go.
They were set up so well for that. They anticipated it perfectly. Nosmite in with a nano-boosted Primal Rage. Gonna be able to take down Iris, and Hawk and Master are both weak as well, but they still have not displaced this Bastion. Edison has a supercharger right now, and 93% of his own ult.
He's gonna go tank again here. Bap rezzed up here for the Rain, and now Edison, he's woken up, goes to the tank form, and takes down Fielder point blank. The Rain looking to end this here and now. The Eternal, though, still some options. Dragon Strike right down the middle. Soon ends up getting caught. And Edison, he was at depth store, Josh. Now he's healed back up. Good to go. Good sight lines. And the Eternal are struggling as they try and hold off the inevitable.
It certainly does seem inevitable with Edison up on the high ground. Who can stop him? Hanbin's so weak. Fielder so weak as well. Can't even peek. And No Smite, just the last desperate wrecking ball on the point to try and delay this. Still 4 minutes in the time bank. And the Atlanta Reign are just going to push this one over the line. What an easy win on Numbani.
All right, that is, brings me back to the good old days, Josh, where you think back to the beginnings of Overwatch. We used to call Numbani the lab, and it's because we'd see quirky strategies like this on the regular basis, and don't see it as much recently, but man, Atlanta brought it back with some style.
Yeah, Atlanta using that Bastion strat, which they have pulled out a couple of times throughout this season, but nevertheless, Paris Eternal were neither expecting it nor prepared for it, and didn't adjust particularly well on the fly. But that's... You could call it cheese, but I'm going to call it interesting and creative, especially when we've just had a new patch and we've got a new hero pool as well. It's a moment of flux for the Overwatch League where these kind of comps can really work well.
Yep. So Atlanta, they're going to even things up. It's 1-1 against the Paris Eternal. Can Atlanta complete the upset? We'll have to find out. Now, it's time for some halftime analysis.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
You just gotta keep moving forward. You just gotta keep moving forward.
welcome to our first game break of the day, presented by Pringles Wavy. Zoe, Costa, and Reinforce here to lay it all down for you and discuss the action we just got to witness between the Atlanta Reign and the Paris Eternal. It's currently 1 apiece, so let's dive straight in and discuss Oasis. There was some back and forth for sure, but Paris in the end took it. Reinforce, who impressed?
I mean, both the Junkrats impressed me. Someone called Jake, okay, because Oasis
he's aware.
was
He probably has like some Junkrat senses tingling every time a Junkrat is being selected.
Do you think Jake has like a Junkrat alarm or something? You know,
Yeah.
like firefighters when there's like a fire going off, like it just starts blaring and everyone throws on like their
I'm
jackets and they go
100%
down the
convinced
pipe and
that's
like
the case.
you know, like when someone picks Junkrat in Overwatch League, just goes off an alarm. Jake pulls on the overalls, gets ready, and he just tunes into the broadcast. So yeah, obviously, on Oasis, we saw both teams bring out the McCree and the Junkrat composition, and it's a bit of a fantastic composition for the Paris Eternal, because you have so many of your players on comfort heroes. You can Hanbin can play the Sigma, Benbes can play the Ocarisa, and then of course you have XE on the McCree that he started firing on this hero back in like February, March, right, when he came into the league, and actually turned of age, right? So XE has been popping off on the McCree forever, and then you have Sparkle on the Junkrat. And knowing Sparkle, he likes to play proactively, he likes to play aggressively, and Junkrat is such a good pick for him because he can just, fire around with the concussion mines, and then he can fire some creative riptires. So great composition for Paris Eternal, and they took Oasis pretty easily.
Yeah, and then we went on to Numbani, and it was actually an interesting shift. I feel like Atlanta Reign looked significantly better when they were sort of playing this double shield composition. They played the Mei on first point. They were this close to holding them on first point. But XE just doing XE things, proving why he is an MVP candidate right now. He's just absolutely going off on the Ashe, and then switches to the McCree on the second and third point, and he got so many kills. We're about to see a stat card come up, and it's just ridiculous how much work that he actually did in this map, and that's why it's even more impressive that the Atlanta Reign ended up holding them on the second point. And then we went on to the second half, and we had the Atlanta Reign strategy of something unique, and we're going to talk about that in just a second.
I mean, can I just say before we get there, like, shout out to No Smite, okay? He played the Winston, and it's a dirty job, but someone's gotta throw themselves in there and actually make space for XE, right? And we've seen this back in 2016. The tanks, they didn't get the credit they deserved back then, but this time around, shout out to No Smite. But XE was the star for the Paris Eternal on that map. And I mean, just look at the limbs versus the deaths. I mean, Costa, you love this stuff.
38 eliminations to 4 deaths, 23 final blows to 4 deaths. That's absolutely ridiculous how much work that he was putting in. And that's why, as I said, it's even more impressive that this match is even close. XE is taking control of this match so far, and the Atlanta Reign is still putting it close.
Yeah, but there's only so much XE can do on a cowboy, as he's just no match for a robot. And that's why our Bastion play from the Atlanta Reign, of course, had to make it into our crunch time, presented by Pringles Wavy. Costa, why don't you take it away and beep boop it all the way through the end.
Boop it down.
So for people that are sort of new to the Overwatch League, this is actually known as a very famous strategy called the Pirate Ship. You play the Bastion and you put him on top of the payload. They actually had a really good adaptation where they didn't actually put the Bastion that much on the payload with the double shields. They had him sort of off-angling, stopping himself from getting hacked by the EMPs or soon just sort of coming out. Beautifully executed with the Symmetra as well, allowing Edison to move back and forth. It was just, we haven't really seen this kind of style come out that much this season. It's been very stock standard play. There's been a lot of definitive metas. While a nice little cheese strat every now and then, you just love to see it.
Okay, so you call it cheese strat. I think Josh was particularly insistent on calling it creative. Reinforce, are you agreeing? I mean, what is it? Creative, cheese, disrespectful?
Yeah, I mean, it is cheese, quite frankly. I mean, I name this cheese.
Call the dairy as you see it.
I don't know about any robotic cheese, but I call it cheese. And I think it's actually, a worthwhile question. I think if you're a novice Overwatch player or new to the game, you might ask yourself, why doesn't more teams pull out the Bastion? Like, why isn't this like a more normalized strategy? And I think Bastion serves as a very niche pick because he lacks the mobility, right? So he's pretty slow to navigate around the map. And he's also a pretty big target, so it's easy to actually pin him down. The thing is, you gotta navigate around his high damage output, and most teams at the top level, they're great at speed boosting around, and they finally reach the Bastion. But if you haven't prepared or actually thought about how to counter Bastion, once every few months, You bring out the Bastion teams and you surprise some teams, and you can actually get some value. So I think that this is a niche pick to bring out once in a blue moon, but it doesn't work all the time. So there you have.
Yeah, no, it will be very surprising to me to see them pulling it off a second time, as we're now heading over to Volskaya. For all the action we once more send it back to CP and Sideshow.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Que ces joueurs savent parfaitement jouer. Attention, on lance autodestruction qui prendra un kill sur Yves.
Here very quickly, we'll be able to touch.
Moss is nearby as well.
Someone to the high ground.
They knocked him away.
Trying to find that clutch factor yet again. Uses the recall, keeps himself alive. He sees how low empty gun is, but he dies as he tries to drop the beam.
Qui est regroupé Nico en cryostase et le blizzard qui va arriver. Xi en flanking qui a déjà fait 2 kills.
The Atlanta Reign looking renewed against the Paris Eternal. Just when you think the Eternal are going to roll over another match, they run into a brick wall courtesy of Bastion on Numbani. And Josh, it's been a while since we've seen it.
It certainly has. I associate that Bastion strat with Junkertown, and I mean, what else? Where else have we even seen the pirate ship? Dorado occasionally. We saw like some kind of Bastion composition come out. Numbani, that I remember back, ZP, to the Torbjorn, the Mangachu Torbjorn being used on attack Numbani, and I thought that I had seen everything at that point. But the attack Torb, the attack Bastion, it's all good. Do you think they're going to be able to pull it out on Volskaya? Are you anticipating another attack Bastion on Volskaya?
So normally I would say no, but I was going to say, well, there's nothing to propel it. It is assault, but no, that's not true. We can go full floating platform silliness if for whatever reason the Reign decide they really want to run Bastion and just play with this idea of the Eternal going, surely they won't run it again. But look, I'm eating my lunch. Making some sort of terrible hair-related bet if that happens, because no Bastion. I think we're just done.
Yeah. Well, we're coming into Volskaya here, and I'd like to cast people's mind back to the last Assault map that we saw the Atlanta Reign play, when they played against the Florida Mayhem, and it was in the Countdown Cup. And it got to the end of Hanamura, and the Atlanta Reign knew it was the third map. There was no chance that they were going to be able to win that series. And they ran a comp that they called the East Coast Special, where they just grabbed a bunch of weird heroes and tried to spawn camp the Florida Mayhem. I feel like maybe they've been scrimming with the East Coast Special comps all week. And we just saw a little taster, an East Coast amuse-bouche. In terms of that Bastion gameplay. I'm excited for some other cheesy stuff to come out.
You know, there is just this phenomenon in Overwatch, right, where you channel enough just weird off-meta energy that your opponent just finds themselves, like, inexplicably drawn into your vortex of influence, going, no, I don't want to play this way, I want to play meta, and you just get thrown in. Normally it's the Hunters that are doing that, but I feel like Atlanta might be channeling some of that energy, or at least they did last map. Don't know if they'll do it here again, but it's still fun to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what the Atlanta Reign have got to bring to the table, though, because so far, I think it is fair to say that the Paris Eternal have played the more well-rounded game. Atlanta Reign have won with a single strategy. Paris have thrown a couple at us, and Xy's been an absolute freak when he's been playing the McCree, but it seems like Paris have got a bit more of a nuanced take on what the meta's supposed to be. Not that I'm a big fan of these Sombra Ash compositions. Perhaps I haven't just seen enough of how they are supposed to work, but I'm yet to see Atlanta pull out something normal. Oh, Edison, no. No, it's not actually happening.
Oh boy,
this is not actually happening.
I'm glad I did make a hair-related bet. Oh boy. We go again, and there are floating platforms should they get through this point A. Edison to the top. The Bastion in play, and the Eternal are just wondering, oh god, are we gonna have to deal with this for the rest of the series? Well, you might if you don't stop it here.
The most cursed of timelines sees Edison, my guess of Rookie of the Year candidate at the beginning of 2020, on the Bastion. Okay, well, the Atlanta Reign actually do look pretty coordinated with how they want to set these things up, and No Smite and Handbin are getting shredded, but Gator's already fallen.
Yeah. Edison's on left, Edison's on the right, Edison's on the left, he's over on the right, teleporting one way to another, but the one constant, lots of damage being thrown through, and I mean, this is going to be Atlanta getting point A, Josh.
It definitely is, and I think this is one of the failures of the Paris Eternals composition, is that they just don't have the damage and to be able to fight this composition through the shields. Xy's playing the Ashe, and there's no way that Soon can output enough damage on his own to be able to take down a Bastion, even if they did get a really good collapse onto him.
Are they going for the platform?
Xy's moving on to the Pharah here, a Pharah defense, which kind of makes sense if we can play line of sight, but Xy I've never seen play the Pharah before. He's normally a hit scan hero, so I think we're getting into pure Fiesta territory now, ZP.
We absolutely are. Xy already low. Soon looking to set up an EMP here, but I mean, the engagement
Xy has already got a barrage.
95%, so close. The Reign, though, they just back off from the EMP, Josh, and Xy, lucky to get away with his life, was chunked down within an inch. But now's the barrage, right? There's no way they're expecting this. The barrage over the top. Grab Saucy, Edison, Atlanta. Not prepared in the least.
Well, that's what we said they needed. Just some extra damage to be able to flood in there. It doesn't matter so much that Exy dies straight off the res. He was just trying to get some more barrage charge for his next life. The Atlanta Reign have lost too many people.
It's over,
and they've
Josh.
given up.
The Bastion has left. We're back to normalcy.
Yeah,
Finally.
take a deep breath. It's unfortunate, CP, that they didn't go for the floating, what do you even call it? The floating boardwalk approach.
I wish.
It's something only seen in the depths of gold, but I was hoping they might bring it out.
You just look at there's like the stories that people have seen throughout the annals of Overwatch. One tale most grim. The Bastion moving without any help aside from the platform. But now the Eternal, they have stabilized a little bit. You're going to see No Smite hop in, Primal Rage activated. Looking for anything environmental, but also just looking to disrupt the rain. LR15 falling first, and losing your BAP early, that's tough to recover from.
No Smite is going to fall here, though. Atlanta Reign don't have the healing to be able to sustain, though. That's the issue. So even if No Smite gives his life and gives his Primal, it's kind of worth it, especially because it bought time for Soon to get closer and closer to that EMP. So now EMP Nano Boost. I feel like the EMP is the only big win condition they have, so the next fight might be very interesting. But this one, if Soon can get off a good nano... Whoa! EMP, sorry. They've given up way too much space here. Atlanta just charged in with the supercharger.
Hanbin down. Oh! Hanbin drops the bomb, a parting gift from the grave. That's going to be enough to disrupt this Rain offense. But Josh, they were so close to taking that. That supercharger was quick, it was unexpected, and the Eternal were struggling for a moment. They got very, very low.
Yeah, Paris can't contest the space. If Atlanta Reign push in with a Mei, a McCree, an Orisa, and a Sigma, then Paris can't contest them. They have to just give up the space and wait for their ultimates to come up. Fielder with another nano here already, though, so he is charging those up so quickly off No Smite and Hanbin taking damage.
Yeah, it's a lot of healing coming in to be sure, and now Soon setting up on the flank. Detected, but they haven't really seen him. Drops the EMP, hits two, but there's Masa! The EMP denying beat immediately, they punish Soon, and the Rain were so well prepared for this EMP. Now Edison dropping the Deadeye over the top, more space being created, No Smite, Nano or no, and a real tough spot right now. The Rain, all six still up, and this looks like it could be point B.
Atlanta have got position, they have ultimates to work with, double tank ults coming up here along with the Blizzard. And Paris, how on earth have they managed to find immediate picks onto Edison and Masa? That's the combination of No Smite and Soon just making magic out of nothing. And although the Atlanta Reign were perfectly prepared for the EMP in the previous fight, they were not ready for that.
The Rain, though, still trying to fight forward, but it's going to be difficult. Spawn advantage goes to the Eternal, and that dive from No Smite and Soon did quite a bit of damage, but Hawk and Saucy starting to bring it back. Rain getting some respawns of their own, and the Eternal have not quite stemmed the tide. In fact, the Rain swap it all the way back, Josh. That was a crazy back and forth.
Yeah, that was quite ridiculous. The thing is, though, Atlanta Reign had the advantages the entire time. I mean, after the EMP comes through and you've managed to negate it with saucy ice blocking in perfect time, the reaction ice block, so that your Mei avoids the EMP, and then also Masa hits a beat onto everybody, your primary win condition for being able to defend has been removed utterly. It's the only reason that it was close at all was because Soon and No Smite found a little moment of magic there where they were able to dive and kill two players in the backline. Other than that, the Atlanta Reign's composition is just fundamentally better, I feel. Unless Exy hits every shot on an off angle, Paris have no way to win these fights outside of an EMP, and Soon's not going to have an EMP in all of the fights. It just puts so much more pressure on everybody else to do more work than could reasonably be expected.
Yeah, I definitely think it puts the Eternal in hard mode, but talk about cleanup here. We see this so often from Sigmas in the Overwatch League, where fight gets a little bit scrappy. Who do you look to really hold down the fort? Just Sigma. And Hawk, perfect cleanup there, Josh.
Real nice play coming out from Hawk. And now it seems like we're going to get a Widowmaker battle. This is more comfortable territory, I would say, for Exy. It's really been his Widowmaker and his McCree where he's been shining all season long. But Edison is no slouch either. Even though Baby Bay has taken it for the Atlanta Reign for the majority of this season, now that Baby Bay is out of this roster, it's Edison who's stepped up, and he's had some amazing highlight moments in Contenders, and I expect them to happen again here.
Oh! Well, Exy starts out with a bang, finds Masa off the hook shot, and the Eternal working on an easy 6-on-5. And now you're going to see Exy going off to the flank. So the Eternal, they're keeping pressure on the front here, Josh, but Exy has a great sight line now to work from.
He really does. It also pins Edison much further back as well, where he's just trying to work out of the health pack room, getting harassed as well by Soon and No Smite. A lot of pressure being put on the defensive Widowmaker.
FTGod got caught. That was a combination between Gator and Hawk there. And suddenly the Rain, they're firing back. Edison gets the better of Exy. And the Rain, they just hide in the Mega Pack room there, Josh, and they weather the storm.
Good work, especially considering they lost Masa so early on. But again, the Paris Eternals composition, it really can't do anything until the ultimates are online. There's going to be a Nano Boost available for them here. And so we're looking for a pick from Exy, a Nano Boost on No Smite to pin them all into the health pack room. And then when the Atlanta Rain come back out onto the point, maybe Soon and No Smite can again find some picks with those key hack and dives. But it's Exy and Fielder that are going to open this one up, I think.
It's a little bit troublesome for the Eternal, though. Soon did not get a whole lot of build. They won't really be able to rely on the EMP this fight unless it goes long. So, to your point, it does rely a lot more on Exy to get the pick off. No Smite diving on in, waiting for the Nano. Fielder under really heavy pressure. Gets the Nano off before falling, and now No Smite. See if he can make most of the sacrifice, getting a lot of cleave damage here in the Mega Room. But the Rain holding on so far. It's FTGod though in the back, takes down 2. And now both teams injured in a tough spot. The Primal from No Smite though, heavy disruption, creating a beachhead now for the Eternal to take point A.
And that's the first time so far in this match. Oh wow, what a nice shot from Edison. Edison's still behind them here. He's so far behind and he's hitting every shot.
What? That is ridiculous. And while that's going on, the Rain, they actually head back over to the point, Josh. Point A not over yet.
This is so sloppy from both teams, but somehow Atlanta Rain have held on with a massive ult advantage and 90 seconds remaining as well. This is kind of absurd stuff that's occurring here. Edison on the Bastion and then on the flanking Widow just hitting all the shots in their backline.
It's wild, and now the Eternal, they're probably going to have to burn EMP if they want to take point A. And it doesn't even guarantee it. Oh, denied! Whoa!
Sad. So sad.
Oh, that is unfortunate. It gets taken down by Masa for good measure. Oh, that is a tragic sequence of events there for Soon.
That's just a reset, because Paris are relying on that EMP. The EMP, like I've been saying, is the only big thing they have to work with. Something they did do very well in the previous engagement, as we see FTGod just behind enemy lines, because of course he is, because that's what this match has turned into. What is Fielder doing here? What am I witnessing, CP? What is this match become?
He's trying to ruin me. It's trying to kill me. The Eternal is trying to assassinate me. As Fielder just stayed in the back. Why?
Oh, ZP is gonna die. He's having a heart attack watching this gameplay. Where has the refined play come from Paris? They always looked like they had a plan in these previous matches, even when things got very weird. But look at this. FTGod is behind. Not really sure what he's gonna aim to do. He did get a pick in the previous fight, but they still need this EMP to come out from Soon.
Well, the Nano comes out in the No Smite, and now we'll see if Soon can land the EMP, not get blocked up by one. Okay, Blizzard Eden. Hanbin, that's a start. The Rain were looking for the Blizzard to zone out just a little bit more. Now they have to hang on back. It's set up. It's into the room. No Smite in right after. And we get the Immortality Field. The Rain still very healthy. Hawk getting ready to set up here on the Flux. Gets the Flux off right as the EMP comes in. Drops the Flux. But there's the beat from FTGod. The Eternal still looking real healthy. Now the engagement begins anew. No Smite heading on in. And oh, this Primal's going to be big in the health pack room. No Smite with 4. That's point A, but it was a struggle to the end.
It was an enormous struggle. Great play by No Smite at the end with the Primal, but that was real difficult for the Paris Eternal to be able to get. And this comp, I don't know, man. I'm not that convinced. Paris Eternal have done some pushes really, really nicely, where they nano in No Smite, and then No Smite uses the Primal, and it just batters away the double shield defense coming out from Atlanta. And then in other fights, they look totally lost. Scrappy all over the place. I mean, obviously, Fielder and FD got in some ridiculous positions as well. Okay, let's see whether they can get it together here. They have another nano boost to use. No Smite miles away from his Primal Rage, so this nano, I don't really know. They nano No Smite and try and see if they can get a pick onto one of Soon's hack targets. Other than that, they're just waiting for more ults to come up.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a situation where neither team really wants to fight right now. And Edison getting off the Widow. Now it's the McCree. And this is going to signal that the Reign want to take this a little bit more up close and personal. Nano in from No Smite, looking for the pressure to start things off. Under heavy focus fire and turn, Nano or no. Now the Immortality field is down, the Reign. Now here comes the test. Saucy getting very close to that Blizzard. Soon already picked off. And the Reign staying alive. The healing and shielding impeccable, Josh.
Yeah, very good from Atlanta. I was worried that they had given up too much space when they gave the entirety of the point and a free tick to Paris. But they managed to mitigate the hack coming out from Soon onto Gator quite well. Iris with a pretty good Immortality field as well. And Atlanta are going to be able to hold on and build up to their ultimates. I just think it's so interesting, ZP, that Paris are even trying to play these Winston Zarya compositions when that's where they looked the most behind when it came to the Countdown Cup. Like, this play looked some of the worst from them out of all of the stuff that they had available. But this time, when Fielder gets a Nano, which he should be able to build really quickly by No Smite and Hanbin just taking damage, when Fielder gets that Nano, No Smite's also going to have the Primal to use afterwards, and soon will have EMP, so this should be huge.
Hawks down immediately. That's such a good start for the Eternal. Hanbin falls while dropping the bomb. The Reign, otherwise still pretty healthy. They got beat in reserve, and now you kind of look to the EMP interaction. As soon as he's going to drop the EMP, where's Masa? Masa got tagged by it, and the beat not coming out immediately. Saucy and Edison both dying as a result. It was a really nice EMP from Soon. And now No Smite trying to isolate out. Gets knockoff on the LR-15. But the Eternal, they bled too much here, Josh.
Well, have they? They're going to be able to reinforce with a bunch of reinforcements coming in. Reinforce with a bunch of reinforcements. I'm thinking about my good friend Jonathan Reinforce Larson too much. They've got enough spawners to be able to stabilize on the point here. And they have so many else to be able to work with. This Nano is going to be a last-ditch effort here.
Drop the Nano on the No Smite, and Hawk and Saucy both immediately down. The Reign, it's been a good defense here so far, but this might be the end. Xe, great line of sight in the back. Beat gonna be dropped here from the Eternals. They look to put it away. They take down Gator, and the Reign falling one by one. But here's the problem. The Eternal, they need to finish with time remaining, Josh. 4 seconds left until that overtime cutoff. The Reign are over a minute. Can they bring in the overtime? They do. And that is bad for the Eternal.
Yeah, poor situation for them. They do manage to get the completion in the end, so we're going to be looking at a draw, best case scenario here for Paris. I want to give a lot of credit to Xe, because he comes out with a pick immediately onto Saucy on the Mei, which is a huge pick. The guy had his Blizzard up as well. And then he's also putting damage in onto the tanks and damage in onto the backline. That Widowmaker pick for Xe can just be so clutch exactly when his team needs it. I don't think Paris are playing a particularly good game here in terms of the comp and how they're working it, but Xe individually is having one hell of a series. His individual play, his mechanics, the shots that he's hitting, up there with the best that he's been doing all season long.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes I wonder when you look at a team like the Eternal where you have such crazy mechanical skill, right, that you get into this sort of paradigm of, you know, the arrogance of the top, right, where, yeah, maybe there's other compositions they could work on where I think, you know, the complaints that you've raised about their composition here, I think ring pretty true. But on the same note for the Eternal, if you're still winning, you just kind of have this mindset of, keep running it. We're not losing, are we? And, you know, if you get tested like the Reign are testing them here now, it does make it a little bit more questionable. It does force a player like Xe to perform up to every last bit of his potential.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that that's probably something that Paris are doing. Bear in mind as well that this is a new meta, a new patch, new hero pools. So Paris, like every other team in the league right now, are going to be adapting and figuring out what compositions work for them. I'll tell you what Atlanta Reign have figured out, though. Bastion equals win so far. It's a very simple equation.
Oh, I love to see it. Eternal probably just going, oh, right. This was a thing the first time around. It has not gone away. Hanbin, under some heavy pressure, the Reign, they get their initial entry onto the high ground, and they're just going to wait for the next TP here, Josh, and Edison's going to be going left and right again.
I think they have Fielder hiding on the top high ground, ready to set out a sleep and a Bionade. Oh, it was a decent attempt, but now he's getting pressured down.
Meanwhile, Edison found No Smite. The Bastion, so devastating when left unchecked, takes out FD God. And the Reign starting to get all they need. Remember, Josh, they only need 33% on the point.
Yeah, it's just a single tick, and the point presence at the moment is enormous. Hanbin's so weak, and No Smite is basically the final defense. He's just going to get shredded by this Bastion. And the Paris Eternal, map after map, have struggled to come up with a counter.
Hail Bastion is what I'm going to say there. Our new overlord, our old overlord, he's back, baby. And this is one of those crazy things here, Josh, because even though obviously these players have been around for a long time, they've dealt with Bastion previously, but I mean, how often in the average scrim block do you see a team pull up Bastion on point A Volskaya? I'm going to wager it's not very often.
Yeah, very infrequently. And that's what Jonathan was saying during the game break as well, when he was breaking down the Bastion play on Numbani, is that it's the definition of cheese. That's what cheese means. It doesn't mean a bad strategy. It means a strategy that wouldn't usually work, but because you catch the opponent off guard or unprepared, you get the win. And I think that that's part of what's happening here. It is a new patch, a new hero pool, and the Paris Eternal are unprepared for dealing with Bastion. They haven't thought through how their comp works to deal with that kind of strat. And Atlanta are testing them. And at the moment, that test, the Atlanta Reign at least, are passing with flying colors.
Yeah, and I mean, now the Eternal, they're up looking at a very difficult challenge. You have to win the next 2 maps or the series is over. The Raid, meanwhile, 1 map away from finishing out the upset. Will they be able to do it? We head to Route 66 next.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The Eternal finding themselves in a very unexpected position, down a map to the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign, meanwhile, up 2-1 in the series, 1 map away here, Josh, from completing the dream, and it's Bastion leading the charge. What in the world is going on?
I don't know. Honestly, ZP, I don't know. I can't tell you exactly what's happening. I mean, the game has devolved to a very chaotic level, I feel. And that's exactly where Atlanta Reign are finding their strengths, I think, is by ripping apart the structure of the Paris Eternal. We normally think of Paris as being a very prepared team with a great coaching staff who have specialist strats for each map. And instead, the Atlanta Reign have thrown a curveball at them and totally ripped that to pieces. We've got a sub here as well coming out for the Paris Eternal. It's going to be Ben Best moving in. They're still sticking with Xe and Soon, but they've got Ben Best in the starting lineup here once more, which seems to indicate that we're heading back to more Orisa-centric compositions, which might be one of the strategic counters to the rather worrying success of Bastion for the Atlanta Reign.
Yeah, the part where it's just like, this is a fun strategy. It's good to see a meme come out every now and then. You think that for one map, right? And then Bastion comes out in Volskaya, wins Volskaya for the Reign, and go, oh, I'm not laughing anymore. What's actually going on? We need a change in strategy, and you bring in Ben Best, maybe that's what they need. But Route 66, of course, where we're heading in. I mean, this is also a map where you think about the ancient stories of Overwatch. Bastion's also had some success here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worrying part, isn't it? Is that after seeing it on Volskaya, it could happen anywhere. It could happen literally anywhere, and it wouldn't surprise me. I think that Route 66 offers many opportunities due to the high ground on point A with Big Earls and point B with the houses and the bridge to be able to drop onto the Bastion and attack it from all sides, which is obviously a big flaw of running the Bastion comp. You can only shield it from one side most of the time, and the Bastion himself is just going to have to spin around and increase his DPI if he wants to try and deal with that. But so far, it hasn't been an effective... There's been no effective counter strategy coming out from the Paris Eternal. They've never really tried to deal with the Bastion so much as just try and avoid it and hope it goes away.
Josh, I just got word from Legal. We do have to put on a disclaimer here. That's right. The Overwatch League would like to remind you, please do not try everything seen on this broadcast at home. You might not want to bring the Bastion to your ladder games. Whatever you can. Play Bastion all the time. I'm sure no one will complain.
Not in my games. Get these Bastion mains out of my games. But I might try it because, you know, that's how my cognitive dissonance works. I'm allowed to do these things, but my teammates aren't. That's how I like to exist in the world of Overwatch.
Do as I say, not as I do. It's a classic.
Exactly. All right, let's take a look then here, because Paris are defended with Ben Best on the Orisa. They've also got Exi just hitting shots. 2 headshots, really crispy clean at the beginning. Along with a backline that applies a lot of poke. So they've got the Zen in here in case there's any shenanigans. They've got a large amount of shield break with the double hit scan, the Widow, the Ashe, the Zen, the BAP. Any shields that get put up on this payload are going to get shredded. So that's one effective way of countering some Bastion attempt. Not that I think it was going to happen.
No, instead they just bring out the offensive Junkrat. Also on the silly Spectrum. It's just like, oh, that's actually normal. It's not Bastion. We do have the BAP getting picked off immediately. Fielder looking strong here so far. And the neutral game for the Eternals just insane at the moment, Josh.
Yeah, because how on earth can Atlanta Reign get close to them when they're getting peppered by an Ashe and a Widowmaker and a Zen and a Batiste? The amount of poke damage coming out from the Paris Eternal has got to be up there with the most you could possibly craft from any theoretical composition. And they're running into it with a Junkrat and a Symmetra, which I'm not sure where they think they're going to be able to get value from this, but they've got to close the gap. They need to make these sightlines really short in order to get value from Saucy and Edison.
Look, sometimes you just want to play Junkrat, lob some grenades. Surely that's going to be enough pressure. Hello, Saucy. Considering the flank for now, staying with the team. I mean, they're hoping to set this up with a teleporter some form or way, but guess what, Paris? They've seen everything. The recon site coming out here from Exi, and if nothing else is going to slow down the Reign a little bit more, you don't want to push into it.
Definitely. But a teleporter play here could be brutal. If you manage to get the teleporter on, you mitigate the Widowmaker and the Ashe immediately. Oh, they've actually gone for the teleporter right underneath. Just keeping those sightlines really short, making sure that the Widow and the Ashe don't have a look onto their heads.
There's a lot of movement, but not a lot of team fighting happening here. 2 minutes left right now for the Reign as they continue trying to warp the rules and logic of Overwatch before our very eyes.
And they're only at 60% of their ult. Saucy, that is. The Junkrat is only at 60% here, and it's been 2.5 minutes. So this is some slow build. They have denied any ability to build up that tire.
Not really a great angle for a Junkrat either. The underneath the gas station shooting up. It's a tough one. Exi, meanwhile, great angles across the board. Under a little bit of pressure here, though, and just barely able to shake that. Masa came real close.
That's a nasty good shot coming out from Exi there. And Atlanta Reign are just running their heads into a brick wall. 67%, 2/3 of an ultimate built in 2 minutes and 45 seconds here for Saucy. And I'm not saying that he's bad on the Junkrat. I'm saying that this composition has no right being played on Route 66 at the moment. Not unless I see something vastly different here. Because so far, Atlanta, I mean, this is...
We need the 6K tire.
Lost.
It's all this build up here. I need a big tire. It's the only way this is worthwhile. The Eternal, they catch Saucy again, and I mean, a tire might not be happening here, Josh. The way this is going down, the build hasn't been there, the flux dominating, and the rain just continue to struggle to get a foothold, and threw the sim ult into that one.
I gotta be honest with you, ZP, this is the weirdest match I've ever casted of Overwatch. And I have casted some weird games of Overwatch. But going from seeing these teams play disciplined styles of Overwatch in the past couple of weeks, I feel like the meta coming into this week must have been so in flux in scrims that neither of these teams have a good idea of what the other was going to play at any point. Paris getting totally caught off by the Bastion, and now Atlanta running Junkrat Sim on Route 66, a very open map, presumably expecting something else from Paris and making no adaptation. Saucy still doesn't have his ult, and it's been 4 minutes.
Look, it's all about the climax, Josh. It's all about the payoff. Saucy's almost there, even as Xe is taking down his entire team. Is this the best Junkrat story ever told? The tire is out. Most of this team is died. The tire died. I tried to hype it up. I tried so hard. It just doesn't happen. And now the Eternal gonna be holding.
My mental is getting shattered here, ZP. Absolutely shattered. I know this, if anyone is tuning into Overwatch League that hasn't seen it for a while, they might be wondering why I'm losing my mind right now. But I just cannot comprehend what I am witnessing from these two teams. Especially from the Atlanta Reign, but also from Paris as well. I feel like it's a new patch. Genji has been nerfed. We've been playing with so much Genji. And then also the hero pulls have banned Zarya, Brigitte, Genji, and Tracer. Heroes that we have seen so much of recently. And I feel like that has thrown the scrims for this week into some quantum dimension where every composition was viable because nobody had any idea of what the best compositions were. And maybe some teams are preparing for the playoff patch as well, where Orisa is out of the meta, presumably because of massive nerfs. I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to do advanced quantum theory, figuring out what on earth the Atlanta Reign were thinking with that Junkrat Sim offense on Route 66. But
I feel like I'm on an amusement park ride, and you're just kind of the car that I'm in right now, and it's just going down crazier and crazier turns as you just go, surely, you know, this can't get any weirder, this can't get just more bizarre, and it does, and I just see your mental cracking before my very eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so Paris are going to be attacking now. Atlanta Reign are moving to the Sim May defense. Presumably because they want to hold really aggressive, really far forward here, because the Atlanta Reign's only chance of winning this map is just to spawn camp Paris Eternal repeatedly.
Yeah,
and
give him the Brad
also
Rajani.
running Junkrat here. But I feel like Soon's Junkrat is so much better because the Atlanta Reign are forced to hold forwards.
Well,
whereas
the ult charge.
Saucy's Junkrat made no sense because it was against a composition that wanted to hold a long way away.
Yeah, also, I'm just going to note, Soon is building ult. I mean, I don't know the stats, but I'm going to say at least like 20 times quicker thus far because of the reasons you just mentioned. Yeah. Tire already ready, Edison down, Junkrat on the board. Is it time to run over the Atlanta Reign? The Eternal don't even need help from the tire right now, Josh. It's pandemonium.
So maybe this is why the Atlanta Reign started out on the Junkrat, because they are anticipating a forward defense, right? That's the kind of thing that could very easily be happening in scrims. You get teams always forward holding, so the teams attacking counter that by running the Junkrat. But that doesn't make any sense when you actually look at the composition that Paris was running on defense. So I don't know, I'm still losing it. Paris are in a great position here though, and they've got a tire. Their backline's starting to get closer and closer to their ultimates as well. They've got a Bob online. Atlanta have got to play this one aggressive, because otherwise they have no...
Tire's ready to go. Will this be the tire that was dreamed about, what we've been waiting for? It gets one. Better than the last one.
A lot of damage.
The Eternal, though, do the rest. Yeah, I mean, it was not bad at all. And that's going to be a quick, decisive, and weird Route 66. Emphasis on the weird. Map 5 is where we're headed.
I have no words. CP, I have no words. It is rare that an Overwatch game leaves me speechless, but I am speechless. After Atlanta running Bastion on 2 back-to-back maps, I'm not saying they should have run the Bastion here again on Route 66. You spoke a bit in the pre-match to this specific map about we have seen Bastion on Route 66 in the past, but all right, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting something slightly different, maybe something a bit more normal coming out from the rain. But the Junkrat the Junkrat sim has just broken me. It has shattered my preconceived notions about how Overwatch should be played and replaced them with an impossible, nihilistic, universal turmoil about what is Overwatch. I'm having an existential crisis right now.
You're just kind of looking here, kind of looking to a shrine of Jeff going, everything I know is wrong. Right is left, left is right. But you know, there is one thing we do know. Map 5, it's on the books, and it'll be coming at you right after this break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back to the Madhouse. The rules of Overwatch, the laws that govern Overwatch have been warped beyond all recognition as the Reign continue to take on the Eternal in what has been one of the crazier matches that we have seen. Certainly for me, I think also for you, Josh. This has been wild.
Yeah. It really has. It has been incomprehensible levels of Overwatch being played. Atlanta Reign getting a 2-1 lead based on their Bastion gameplay coming out from Edison, and the Paris Eternal easily winning that final map, or not the final map, the penultimate map there of Route 66. And they're going to sub back in Sparkle for Soon. So although Soon was doing a good job there, I think, on the Ash, providing that double hit scan look for them on Route 66, which was very potent, especially against Saucy when he was trying to run his attack Junkrat. Which, I mean, yeah, we'll discuss that. I'm sure the desk will have something to say about that as well. I think a new measurement of time has been adopted. Is it time to discard the AKM blade?
I think it is. It's time to retire it. It's a little bit dull at this point. I mean, we have a new metric to go after. And I mean, look, that's just how it is when you have a round like that. But you know what would help people forget about it real quick? If the Reign come back and win the series here on map 5. Now, Josh, I wasn't here for map 1, and I was furiously putting on makeup, so I didn't get to see it. Obviously, back on map 1, the Eternal win. What do the Reign have to change here from map 1, assuming we go back to normalcy, to flip the series and change what happened the first time around on Control?
Well, normalcy is a relative term, really, ZP, because what we saw on University and Garden on Oasis was essentially a Junkrat McCree mirror, and Exy taking control of the game and putting up some ridiculous numbers. He went 18-2. He just went 11-0 on Route 66 as well. Exy is racking up some godly numbers on his kill-to-death ratio. So I'm expecting something similar here again, where Exy's probably going to be running a Widowmaker, some kind of performance like that. At the same time, I don't even want to make predictions about what these teams are going to run on a CCP because it could be anything. It could be anything. For Atlanta, though, the key, in my opinion, is shut down Exy.
Yeah, I think that's something everyone can agree at, especially given how the Eternal have been winning these fights. Meanwhile, for the Reign, we'll see if they head out on here. It is looking a little bit more by the books. Saucy coming on the Sombra, Edison on the Widowmaker.
Okay.
Now, what do you think of Sparkle here on the Echo?
Yeah, this is interesting. We actually had a lot of discussions about whether we thought Sparkle would be good on the Echo. This is, I believe, the first time we've seen it in a match, but, you know, obviously had a chance to play a bunch of this hero on competitive, on ranked servers. So we'll see whether he's at that kind of elite level that he is on the other projectile heroes, like the Pharah and the Genji and the Doomfist.
And Best under real heavy pressure early on, but Gator and Hawk, they maintain the front line. Exy still looking for pickoffs on the side. Yet to get too much here so far. Sparkle though off in the flank, finds Masa. And Exy finally connects as the Eternal working the outskirts, and now both teams very heavily wounded. Here's the front line, still survives, but not longer. Sparkle, is anyone left?
That's insane. What is this? This final fight has come down to a Widowmaker 1v1 between Edison and Exy, as Sparkle somehow weaves his stickies on to kill both of the tanks from the Atlanta Reign. This is going to come down to spawn timers, and because Paris died earlier, they're going to get back to the point earlier. This first point,
also,
it continues.
Edison had to give up position here just to contest the point. I mean, it's ever a great spot. Oh, nice! The shot from Edison across the bow finds Exy. Not an easy one, and now the Reign working with some momentum here. This should be the Reign taking control of the point.
Edison able to get a bit more value in that opening engagement, allowed him to get the infrasight much earlier as well. And Exy, it felt like in all of the chaos of that final fight, he didn't quite realize that the infrasight was active. Perhaps that, or nobody was tracking the location of Edison on the map, because Exy felt like he was safe, not even paying attention to that small sightline where obviously the Widowmaker 1v1s happen frequently. Now the infrasight advantage goes over to Exy though, he's going to pop that off, but you've got to be aware of Saucy's EMP if they actually try to push.
Meanwhile, they're going to get the clone Sigma here. Zen already down, the Eternal on the way forward. The EMP though strikes. Problem is the Reign down 2 before it comes out. Still, front line holding strong. They've evened up 4v4. Flux in from Sparkle. And the Eternal, they just had too good of a start, Josh.
Yeah, the Paris Eternal did a great job there. I want to give a shout out as well to FD God, who put down the Immortality field just as they got EMP'd. So even though Paris Eternal were hacked, they still had that Immortality field, keeping their tanks alive, just buying enough time for Fielder to get his Transcendence online. And a good duplicate as well from Sparkle as he copies the Sigma on the other side and does a lot of work in that engagement. And they mitigate one of the biggest win conditions from the Atlanta Reign, that EMP.
Yeah, now the Reign, I mean, they're going to head into the next fight. They got the Flux in reserve, but this is not easy with what the Eternal has in reserve. And this is likely going to start some zoning here, courtesy of FD God. There it is. See the Amp Matrix down. Flux, though, in from Hawk. Reign trying to take the initiative again, looking for Hanbin, but Hawk gets punished while on the assault. The Eternal still very healthy, all 6 up, and Sparkle working the back line. And the Echo working out here so far, Josh.
Working really well. I had questions about Sparkle's Echo. I said to people, you know, when he was first joining the league, we saw a lot of Echo gameplay, and I said to people who were asking me, it's not a guarantee that this guy is going to be top level on Echo just because he's a top level on other projectile heroes, but the doubts are starting to get settled in my mind. Sparkle's looked pretty fabulous at this hero so far from the limited sample size we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, not every Contenders player, even if they're grand contenders, shows that in the Overwatch League, but Sparkle I mean, at this point, you can pretty much chalk it up to, yeah, made the transition, no problem. Dominant in all levels of play. Now the Reign, though, on to the point Transcendence used. The Eternal just backing up, going, all right, we're going to wait this out for now. But Hunbin can't get away, gets caught at the last moment, and that's going to make the frontline battle so much tougher here for the Eternal. But now the Reign, they have to move the point.
I think Eternal are just aiming to stagger this one out. Hanbin has actually gone over to the Wrecking Ball here, which I don't know whether that's a good idea. I think that was a completely lost team fight. But maybe this is... Nope, he's just going to go straight back to the Sigma. Okay, so he didn't really have that much ult charge, I think, that he got rid of there. I believe he had just used his Flux in the previous fight. But Saucy's now up to an EMP. A Fielder with his Transcendence to try and counter this, and Sparkle can again go for a duplicate, perhaps on Hawk like he did last time. This is looking like a bit of a mirror situation from the previous time these two teams faced.
When you see the Echo Knight around, you want to engage right this moment. You have to think Sparkle's coming in the flank. You have a window to get aggressive with it. Looks to be what they're trying to do. Sparkle, though, into the back line, gets a clone on to the Sigma. The Reign, though, they've already done some serious damage before Sparkle gets back. Can't get a Flux off. Gets pulled out of the clone. And that's exactly what the Reign need to do, Josh.
Yeah, that was nice patient play as well from Saucy. You notice there that he didn't engage, he didn't start with the EMP. That wasn't the initiation tool. Instead, they said to Paris, all right, well, we have the advantage in this fight, and we hold control of the point, so you have to push into us. And now we see Sparkle over on the Doomfist. They have a Transcendence and a hope for a miracle coming out from the One Punch Man from Sparkle here.
Yeah, I mean, they're hoping Sparkle gets a quick pick off, but the EMP could be deadly, especially if it strikes Fielder. Saucy waiting, drops the EMP, and they just use it to eliminate Ben Best from this universe. Sparkle, punished by Edison, the Reign, still on the point. The front line looking very solid here so far. Sparkle can't be the X Factor, already down. And the Eternal right now working the outskirts, but they're just getting picked off one by one. Hawk, Edison again, and the Reign. Overtime ticking down, but they're about to be one round away from taking the series.
Great stuff from the Atlanta Reign, and I gotta say, the key difference maker for me is that Edison stepped up and outperformed Exy in that first round. I don't know whether the stats will reflect it, but I feel like Edison had more control over the engagements, was getting more damage into the tank line of the Paris Eternal, and just generally exerted his control over that round in a way that we haven't seen so far in this series. I'm not anticipating a Widowmaker head-to-head on this round, because it's indoors and much more claustrophobic, but he did very, very well when it came to the Sanctuary stage.
You know, the interesting thing about stats is that normally they do tell the tale, but sometimes, I mean, it's when you get the eliminations, right? You get the elimination at the right point in the fight. It means a lot more than a clean up a limb towards the end. And, you know, I couldn't agree more there, is that Edison was getting the eliminations when they needed it most. And now we head into a much more closed-in area, Josh, and the Rats are out to play.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense this time. The McCree and the Junkrat mirror, I like here. A lot of damage, close, claustrophobic kind of positioning. Atlanta Reign pushing forwards, but lose Edison really early on. And that was even despite the fact that that Iris invested the immortality field there, and now the Atlanta Reign are just getting beaten up.
Yeah, the Eternal were really healthy after getting that first elimination too. It's not like the Reign got anything for it. It was a quicker dive, and you know the Reign kind of lost at their own game there, because between the two teams, it's been the Reign that have been channeling this just hooligan aggression.
That's definitely true. And in the first round of the first map on Oasis as well, the only team fight that the Atlanta Reign won when they were mirroring the McCree and the Junkrat was that very first engagement where they just went crazy aggressive. Paris was so good once they were in control of the point.
Gator getting real low. The immortality field, though, nicely timed by Iris. The Reign, though, they're just taking too much damage, Josh, from all angles. I mean, Saucy drops the tire a little bit later into the fight. And now, I mean, the Reign, yeah, this is still vaguely contestable for the Reign, but it's still not great. I mean, the Reign players would have to put themselves in the point, and the Eternal can just shoot on down.
Yeah, definitely. The two players you would want to be alive towards the end are Exy and Fielder. Just pocket Exy and allow him to hit the shots. Saucy and Massa, even though they did a good job making it into a 2v2, they can't really engage onto that. And Paris still have so many ults to work with here.
Yeah, but the neutral game, though, a bit of a problem. Ben Best getting low real early. Sparkle nearly biting the dust. Tire, though, just to be ready. Exy! 3 from above! The perfect Deadeye when they need it most. And that's so big for the Eternal.
You could just tell that was going to be a monster one as well. They couldn't afford to just hold there behind their shields. Didn't have any map geometry to duck behind either. Just had to make a desperate attempt down to the point and hope the RNG of the dynamic map saved them.
Yeah, it's never a great situation to be in where you're like, well, I really hope this works out. Oh, look at this. Sneaky stuff. The tire! Oh, taken down. I think the tire also fell in that period. At least
I don't even know where the tire went, honestly. Did it just land in the river?
It just vanished. Yeah, it went bye-bye. Meanwhile, the Rain, they just go through the front line. They catch the Eternal off guard, and that's the danger of going for those flank plays sometimes, Josh. They don't always work out.
Unfortunate for Sparkle that the Junkrat screams, "Fire in the hole!" when he actually uses his Riptire, because otherwise I think he would have gotten away with that.
Unfortunate for me, that was loud. My ears are still ringing. I was not expecting it, Josh. I wasn't expecting it.
I'm not very good with voice lines. I can't do a great Australian accent. I always forget what they actually say in the middle of the voice lines.
Yeah, Matrix down early. Edison finds Xe. And it was off the halt that set it up. The Rain in a great position right now. The Eternal getting thrown back, but Hawks out of the fight. The Eternal still looking the pressure. They take down Saucy, and now they're about to breach on through, and this is getting real dicey for the Rain as Edison can't get away. And the Eternal, slowly but surely, Josh, that could be the round.
Benbest and Hanvin are so good at just forcing their way in through the choke point. There's nothing that Edison and Saucy can do to hold them in. No matter how much damage is coming through, Paris are decisive, and they move through that choke, stop themselves taking all the damage. And once you're through the choke and start to spread out, Edison and Saucy can do a lot less. So now 99%. FD got just making sure that no one can come through the bottom, and Paris tie things up. This match is down to the wire. We're going to the final one. I want to see a Bastion. I'm not going to lie, ZP. Yes. I want to see a Bastion.
And as we began, or at least began on map 2, as we enter into what is the ultimate round here in Overwatch. That's right, it's map 5, round 3. Both teams have just thrown us crazy storylines all series long, but it all comes down to this. And from the looks of it, the Rats are still going to be in play.
Let's take a look at what was going on here. I think that's a beautiful little halt to stop Gator, maybe? Oh, no, not quite. I don't think the halt actually connected, but Gator was so close to triggering that overtime.
Yep, so close, yet so far. I mean, even on the distance alone, I think the verticality might have doomed him there also. But now, we head on into it. Xe on the Widow, and there's already a difference. Widow one side, McCree on the other. The Rain, they're going to want to get up close and personal. And neutral-wise, the Eternal been hit in the face a little bit here, but Saucy gets caught, and the Eternal immediately flip it in their favor.
Saucy going for a flank, but Sparkle read it perfectly. And this guy, it's not just his mechanical skill, it's his awareness of where people are in the fight. That's so key when he's playing the Genji, when he's playing the Doomfist, and it helps him out here when he's playing the Junkrat as well. Sparkle already up to 55% of his ultimate. And it's another very decisive first engagement for the Paris Eternal, despite the fact they didn't have consistency coming out from their McCree in the fight. Xe is now going to move over to that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the Widow could have worked on the defense for a little bit longer too, given that they had the position. But yeah, I think the Eternal, they just want to fight the Rain on their terms. Fight brawl for brawl, and it's easier to do that when you have the McCree.
Oh, the halt.
Nice halt, setting up Sparkle. Here's the tire. This could be big. Spinning over. Does enough damage. It's one of those tires where it's not flashing the kill feed, but it helps everyone else.
Yeah, the amount of damage he did was kind of ridiculous. The kills came through immediately afterwards. And the credit to Benbest here as well. It's going to be unfortunate if Orisa does go out of the meta for playoffs, especially if you're a Benbest fan, because this guy has had a phenomenal redemption arc powered by this hero and the halts and the way that he's able to combine with Sparkle. And look at Sparkle on the high ground. Oh! Another huge one. He just bounced off their head. He's playing Mario out here.
Josh, you summoned that into existence. I don't know if that was going to happen, but you're sitting in your head, was like, look at this guy, the best halts in the game. And then the highlight comes to you. It was delivery, Josh. It's unfair.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. Atlanta do have a couple of ults to work with. They've got a tire to try and make some space. What? That's a bit random, but all right. Perfect.
I think that was a halt, and then Saucy just caught the end of it as Gator is just making opportunities out of nowhere. And this could be enough for the Rain to get the point. The Eternal, they're going to do some ultimates trying to bring it back, but I think their flux was just wasted there, Josh.
Yeah, he was attempting to make something happen. If he can find the kill onto Edison, then maybe that fight is turnable. Paris got a lot of ultimates, but you know, didn't work out in his favor at the end. Paris, though, they're essentially in one-fight territory. If they're able to take the point here, then Atlanta will be trickling back in once we get to 99%.
I think Atlanta has to channel what they've been so good at all series long, which again, it's that hooligan aggression where they just need to stop Eternal from having fair fights, because if the Eternal get another 3 or so fair fights, they're going to win. Deadeye out, Tire on its long journey. So the Rain, they're getting pushed back from the Deadeye, but a Tire from Saucy came out while this went on, got Hum, and oh my goodness! The Tire from Sparkle with 3, and that could be the series.
That's actually genius, CP. They use the Deadeye to force everybody to hide, and then they send the Tire in, and they know that nobody can shoot the Tire because they're all hiding from the Deadeye. It is wonderful ultimate synergy coming out from Exy and Sparkle there, and Sparkle once again delivers with a 3k Tire. It's perfect stuff coming out from Paris, and such a contrast to some of their performances earlier on Numbani and Volskaya.
Well, quick pick off, the halt into the rock, Fielder's down, so Sparkle, the Rain, need to touch a point, but this is a quick resurgence, and the Eternal just let the Rain walk back in. We still got ourselves a series.
We certainly do. That's that hooligan aggression you're talking about, CP. That was double support ultimate used, and they just ran in. They had the sound barrier on them, and they ran through that choke point. Edison with a nice little flank as well to get a pick in the middle of the engagement. And now Paris find themselves in a position where they need to get another kill. Exy, though, has another Deadeye to engage with.
Oh, this is going to put so much on Edison. Edison gets Fielder, one of the best pickoffs he can get. Now the Eternal, they don't have the healing in the back. They don't have any healing at all. FD got down. Edison on the roll. Gets another. Edison unstoppable.
Hanbin with another wasted Flux, CP. He thought that he needed to use it towards the end of that fight, but it was hopeless. Here was essentially 2v6 at the end there. And now we're getting to 90-odd%, and Hanbin and Benbest are desperately going to try and touch. Is FD got anywhere near? Can anyone get on this?
We're about to find out. The series hangs in the balance. The Rain so close to the upset against a heavily favored Paris Eternal. Benbest on his signature hero, off on the line. Heavy pressure on the way in. Sparkle, though, finds Elris. Edison down. And Sparkle the Tire towards the very end. The Eternal, can this be happening? Back onto the point. Atlanta staggering, just about done. The Eternal, this is unbelievable, Josh. And that's it.
Well, it was a bit of a fiesta of a match, and it couldn't have ended in a more entertaining way. That really went down to the wire for both teams. I was impressed by how the Paris Eternal played when it came to the Junkrat, McCree, and Orisa compositions. I think they played them really well on Oasis. I think they played them really well towards the end there on Busan. Edison, though, you gotta give him credit. When it mattered in Game 5, on the later rounds, he really stepped up. On Sanctuary, he had a big performance, and on Downtown, he also did his best. It just wasn't quite good enough. Paris, they clutch it.
Yeah, I mean, there's great performances on both ends from these teams where, okay, you look at the meta and the strategies. I don't think anyone's going to look at this and say that this was conventional by the books Overwatch. I think, you know, the idea of this being like a scrim singularity of chaos that just sent everyone into, you know, just happy land. Yeah, that probably happened. But both teams got to flex their individual skill. And, you know, I think if you're an Atlanta fan looking at this, you're actually a little bit more pumped to look at the playoffs going, all right, I know my team hasn't been the absolute best all season long, but they haven't been the worst. They've been in the middle of the pack the whole way through. But if you're going to start peaking, if you're going to start showing, you know, all your talents, you want to do it in the playoffs where it matters most.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Atlanta can rely on some of their creativity to come out with set strats, set cheese kind of comps for the playoffs, then they'll potentially be in an opportunity to cause an upset to one of these top teams. Unfortunately, it's a bit more of the same for the Atlanta, where they play these top teams fairly close, but they end up losing the series. Having said that, they recently had a series against the Mayhem where they just got dominated. So this is definitely, I agree with you, forward improvements. They had to rely on some cheesy comps, but they still executed them well and totally knocked the Paris Eternal off, and they still had a close map 5-2. So yeah, if you're an Atlanta Reign fan, don't be too worried about this kind of stuff.
Now, as much as we want to say everyone played well, which they did, sometimes you got to elevate one player above the rest. That brings us to our player of the match presented by Xfinity, and it's Exy, who had himself a series and then some.
Yeah, Exi was astoundingly dominant on some of these maps. 18-2 on Oasis, 11-0 on Route 66. His Numbani offense was incredible as well, but they ended up losing to the Bastion. In every map, we saw Exi going crazy, hitting some insane shots on the Widowmaker and on the McCree. And if this series hadn't gone their way, I'd have been tempted to give him player of the match anyway, because he was just outstanding on these heroes today. Individual skill all over the place.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something that's always makes for exciting Overwatch.
Look
where
at those stats,
you'd love to see it.
Just sorry to interrupt you, but look at that: 20 final blows per 10 minutes, and only dying 4.5 times per 10. That's insanity from your hitscan player.
That is a man that was doing whatever he wanted throughout the course of the match. And it's kind of a testament to Atlanta that they brought it within one team fight of nearly winning when they're up against that force of nature. I mean, how often can you be up against someone with a stat line like that and go, oh yeah, we almost won? Like, okay, well done Atlanta on the other side, because XC was unstoppable for a lot of the game.
Yeah, they'll definitely, I think, be kicking themselves because it was so close, though. It hurts more to lose the close series than it does to lose the total blowout games that you just know you never had a chance in. They'll be thinking to themselves, oh, if we played like we did in map 5, in map 1, then maybe we would have had a chance of picking up one of the control maps. Or, oh, if we had had a different strategy for Route 66, maybe we could have taken this series. But at the end of the day, like you said, ZP, it's all about the playoffs for the Atlanta Reign. These series where there's hero pools and cheese strats are all well and good, but at the end of the day, they need to focus in on their strategizing and their upsets for playoffs, because if they can come out with a good run, like they did last year where they beat the San Francisco Shock, that's where the really important matches lie, just a couple of weeks from now.
I will say, given what we saw today, I think if I'm the head coach of another Overwatch League team, I'm thinking what teams I want to play against. I'm looking at Atlanta going, maybe I don't want to play against Atlanta, because even if you look at it and go, yeah, their regular season record wasn't the absolute best relative to some of the other teams, I would still be a little bit scared of Atlanta based on what we saw here today, and not just because of the Bastion, but because of the potential this team shows. And one thing we didn't mention a whole lot, I mean, we did at times, is that I still have to admire the frontline synergy that you get between Gator and Hawk, where these are players that have played together throughout their entire Overwatch career, right? They came up together in Atlanta Academy. They're together now in the Overwatch League, and the synergy, the amount of times that you see these two players just kind of sit there surviving against the odds on point and, winning some fights that you wouldn't really expect Atlanta to win if they get support from the rest of their team in the way that we saw from Edison at points in the series and the supports. I mean, it makes Atlanta terrifying under the right circumstances.
Atlanta still have a few games left in our regular season. They play against the Titans tomorrow. They play against the Gladiators and the Shock in a week's time. So they're obviously favored against the Titans. In a week's time playing against the Gladiators and the Shock, those are the matches that it's important for Atlanta to at least look competent in, right? They've shown a bit of their hand today, that they've got these Bastion strats available. We're going to be going into a different week with different hero pools when we're talking about Gladiators and Shock. But if they can come out with a win against the Gladiators and not get blown out against the Shock, then I think Atlanta fans can still have some hope that the playoffs can be a similar scenario to last year, where it all clicks at the final moment.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the crazy things about playoffs in any sport, right? Is that, the number one thing for the regular season is that it's great, it's fantastic when you can, have the bragging rights and go, we were number one in the entire regular season. That's fine. You know what? People don't remember the number one of the regular season anywhere near as much as they remember the team that won it all. And the reality is that no matter how good you play in the regular season, the playoffs are a different beast, and it's something to get excited about, even if you had sort of a run-of-the-mill, performance over the course of the year, because you can always have that turnaround when it comes playoff time.
You talk about the Paris Eternal, the other team that we saw playing today, and they only have one match left in the regular season. It's against the Dallas Fuel. And even though Paris can't improve their standing, it is important for them to win this final match, because it keeps them ahead of the Florida Mayhem, who could theoretically still catch and overtake them. So this is a good win today for Paris to ensure that they enter the playoffs with that number 3 seed in North America, behind the Shock and the Philadelphia Fusion. So Paris, I think, you look at their performance today and you say that there were still definitely some holes, and they certainly looked better when they were playing the Junkrat McCree, and they could rely on Exi, and they had Ben Best getting those big halts on the Orisa. There still are some holes in their game, I think, that were exploited during the Countdown Cup, but overall just a good win on the board, and they have a lot of time to fix those kind of things heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think when you bring up the idea of seeding, right, where as casters we talk about a lot, especially early in the season, going, guys, every win matters, but now we've actually hit the point where we could say that and sort of show the bracket and go, look, this is why all this matters, right, is that you play less games, the higher seeded you are, you get more favorable matchups, and when you're talking about the playoffs, I mean, it is a long slog of intense matches where, you know, just one or two things going wrong could send you down to the lower bracket or knock you out entirely, so giving yourself every possible advantage definitely matters, especially when you're in contention for one of those very top spots, which Paris is, due to no small part of their resurgence in the latter half of the regular season.
And you can see the regular season standings that we've got brought up on the screen now as well. And the Atlanta Reign, they would have loved to be able to take this, because even though they're ahead in terms of map differential compared to the Valiant, who are currently set at -3, they still are kind of in that middle of the pack portion. They're not locked into the top 4. Their seeding is very much still up in the air at this point. And if they end up losing the matches that they have in front of them, then their destiny will not be in their own hands. It'll be in the hands of the Valiant and the Gladiators who they play against to potentially overtake them and get a higher seed. And for the Atlanta Reign, one of the reasons that you want that higher seed is because even though upsets are obviously potent towards the playoffs and the end of the season, it's much easier to get upsets against certain teams than others. For example, it was amazing that they managed to get that upset against the Shock in the playoffs of 2019. It was more amazing that it was against the Shock. I would not want to be in a position where I had to perform with an upset against the Shock or the Philadelphia Fusion, one of these two teams heading into the playoffs. So the seeding is still really important, especially for that middle of the pack section where you can see it's so tight between players from the Atlanta Reign all the way down to like the Gladiators and the Defiant.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where it gets the idea of these last games remaining until the playoffs, right? Where, you know, there's sometimes the idea of people look at going, but, you know, the mini tournaments are over, just bring us to playoffs. And then you actually look at the standings and you go, wait. This matters for a lot of teams in shaping what the playoffs are going to be. So, you know, some people might look at it and go, what does it matter? The answer is it matters a lot. But you know what matters a little bit more? We got an interview to give us a little bit more insight. It's Zoe with Exi.
Thank you so much, Josh and ZP. I am joined now by Exi as well as Avala. So first of all, of course, congratulations to you and the team, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about this match, because this easily has to be one of the most entertaining yet very chaotic series we've seen as of late. Maybe just walk us through your thought process. Was the chaos just a result of the more unconventional strats which the Atlanta Reign brought to the table?
엄청나게 혼란스럽고 엎치락뒤치락하는 경기였어요. 애틀란타의 바스티온이나 심해 전략 때문에 많이 힘드셨나요?
일단 애틀란타가 바스티온 조합을 쓰다보니 아예 전혀 예상을 못했기 때문에 많이 당황하고 힘들었던 것 같습니다.
We didn't expect Atlanta to run Bastion at all, so it really threw us off, and it was hard trying to face against them.
Yeah, I mean, on Numbani, that came as a surprise to see the pirate ship coming out. And we were all really sure that in the second half of this match, we're not going to see Bastion again. But it happened again. On Volskaya, the Atlanta Reign pulled it off again. What was the communication like? What did you guys want to focus on to defeat and take down that Bastion?
눈마니에서 애틀란타가 바스티온을 썼잖아요. 그럼에도 불구하고 볼스카야에서 또 나올 거라고 생각을 하셨는지, 아니면 예상을 못 하셨는지, 그리고 또 바스티온이 나올 때 어떻게 대처를 하실 준비를 하셨는지에 대해서 말씀해 주세요.
저희가 눈반일 때 일단 바스티온으로 당한 게 있어서 상대가 이제 바스티온을 계속 꺼내올 거라고 예상을 했고, 이제 그래서 일단 저희가 제가 볼스카에서 파라까지 생각을 했었거든요. 최후의 수단으로. 그래서 대충 바스티온 쓸 거라고 예상을 했었고, 그래서 대충 일단 제가 급하게 카운터 조합을 생각해낸 게 파라였던 것 같아요.
So because Atlanta used Bastion on Numbani, we did kind of expect them to run it in Volskaya. That's why Exi was playing Farah to do a counter against them, and the counter strat worked. So he's happy that we got to counter it in one sense.
Well, wonderful. And we are very happy that we got to see all the madness unfolding on the server. Now, Exi, you are one of 10 people who are nominated for the MVP candidate from T-Mobile for 2020. Maybe tell us what this nomination means for you and why people should vote for you this year.
엑시 선수가 10명의 MVP 후보 중 한 명으로 선정됐는데 이게 본인에게 어떤 의미이고 또 왜 팬분들이 엑시 선수에게 투표를 해야 한다고 생각하시는지에 대해서 말씀해 주세요.
일단 MVP 후보로만 올라가는 것만 해도 저는 굉장히 기쁘고 앞으로 더 좋은 모습 보여드려서 저를 투표해주신 팬분들한테 실망시키지 않도록 더 열심히 하겠습니다.
He is really happy that he got nominated as MVP in the first place, and he will not let down the fans who voted for him for the MVP candidate. So he wants everyone to vote for him for the T-Mobile MVP.
Right on. And he certainly made a compelling argument for himself today as he was just fragging out left and right. So once again, congrats to you and your team. And Avala, thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you so much.
Right on. So we're heading into a very quick break, and afterwards we are back with just the second match of the day. I know that first one went on for actually ever. So much excitement coming our way and still so much more yet to come. So don't go anywhere. We're heading into a very quick break, and afterwards we are back with the Vancouver Titans taking on the Dallas Fuel.